So, let's talk about Strange World. Well, this is it, people. I finally got the chance to watch Strange World on Disney Plus without looking out in theaters because I didn't get to do so, which for obvious reasons. But the more I actually look into Strange World, the more I realize on how much of a disaster this film was. I mean, this we're talking about a film that made Disney lose over 142 or no 147 million dollars. And that is why they had to kick out their boy CEO because they knew it was a disaster because of him and the marketing. And so it's pretty clear that this might not be bad, but I guess the whole idea for making a sequel for a franchise for this type of film is no longer needed. But now I saw it, and did it wasn't much of a disaster as the box office. Well, it starts off with a main character, Sergio Xays, who actually found a piece of plant called Plando, and his own father Jaeger kind of got like a bit distracted by her and a bit jealous, so he just left him go over the mountains. And when Sergio bring back the Pando, it actually changed everyone's lives. Where it's actually a lot more of how Alveoli is actually more of a calm place and actually more of a happier place, and that's all thanks to Searcher. But then Callisto, who was actually working with Jago and Searcher before, who also told him about there's something about Pando that is dying, and what is weakening it. So it's up to Callisto, Searcher, and the other two characters is to actually go down and see what's actually troubling Pando in the strange world itself. Well, I mean, it does have the right materials to make a good and interesting story, and I'll give it that it does execute very well on the world building. And, however, just like Treasure Planet Atlantis, there's something about this unique story that basically kind of falls flat when you look more deeper into the film, and that is the emotional scenes of the bonding. And this course, this film has the message of being yourself and actually trying to bond with your family. But in this film, however, it kind of feels a bit mean-spirited because of how characters just angrily argue at each other, which makes the execution a bit of a mess. Where it's not really of a strong type of a film where it actually gets your attention and kind of leaves you in an awkward mood where is this meant to be the type of film for you to bond, to have a message to bond with your parents and all. But I will give the film that it does have a twist. Now I know Disney doesn't have the best twist, but this twist is actually a pretty good one since it actually does on what the whole world building it is about what the strange world is and the true identity of Pando. I mean, I'll give that it does have the right materials, but the execution does not make the story one of the better parts about Disney films. And the same thing can be said about the characters. Not the worst ones, but not really the most engaging ones. I mean, you got to say it's starting off with Searcher, who is having a hard time reconnecting with his dad, and he's trying to be a good father to his son Ethan. And while Jaeger is mostly the adventurous type character who is trying to get over those mountains, and having a hard time connecting with his father. No, his son, of course. And Ethan, who's often, not really who wants to be more independent and doesn't feel like being a farmer, but more of an adventurer. And he's also the type of guy who doesn't have much patience and is also having a hard time asking out a guy named Diesel. And yes, this is another LGBTQ plus the Disney movie, which it also explains why the marketing was absolutely bull. No, I mean you can blame Bob for that. He can die. Okay, I won't be too harsh on him, but man, it's his fault. I'm just glad he's just kicked out of Disney. But moving on to say it's that they do feel a lot unlikable because of their dynamic between each other, and kind of makes the experience more uncomfortable to look at. I mean, they have good materials, I'll give them that, but the way they acted and be around the film is not very pleasant to watch. As for the other characters, there's Meridian, who is actually more than just a typical mom has more of a type of girl that flies. He's more of a mechanic. Callisto is a fender searcher, who also is the first one to know about Pando dying. And then there's the comic reliefs, and the comedy itself is not really the best. I mean, it's not around like Emperor's New Groove level. But I mean, there were some moments in the film that did get a chuckle out of me, but for the most part, the jokes kind of fall flat. This is especially the case with Splat, because he's mostly like this the character who just trying to kill Ethan, but then one thing happened and actually bonds with him, of course, was as his traveling buddy, and then there's Legend, who's more of a comic relief and actually holds up one of the better jokes of the film, and also he has 3 legs. What a twist! I mean, again, not the worst, but not really the characters I want to be hanging around with. But the one thing that's honestly the best thing about this film is the stylized animation. But then there's like with the character designs and the character animation. Sure, I can see why people will get all criticism to how it looks a bit off for a Disney film like this, but it doesn't really affect me too much since this is Disney's first time using that type of like style for like their own modern CGI animation. So I mean, sure, this is the first time it does look off, but I'll give that this is the first time, and hopefully they can actually improve. And since the characters have a lot more of a cartoonier face on them, it also leads for the character animation to be a lot more expressive, and actually shows out a lot more of their movements. And a good example of that is Splat. And also give that the backgrounds do actually a good job to actually represent the worlds like Aviola, whatever you want to call it, the strange world itself, and also the use of color, where in the strange world itself is mostly filled with the colors of purples, oranges, pinks, and a bit of red and blues. While Aviola itself is actually a lot more of an earth-based color palette on it. And I'll even give that the action scenes do actually make the film quite engaging and intense to watch. So I'll give that those are the better parts of the film itself. And that's basically the same thing I can say about the animation. It is, I mean, sure, there are some nitpicks, like people say, but I'll give that the new part of the animation isn't too bad since this is their first time doing it. So I give Disney a pass on that. So good on them. Strange World is one of the recent weaker films Disney made, but it's still a solid film on the watch as well. Sure, this father and son dynamic is can feel a bit uncomfortable and not good to watch, and some of the comedy and the jokes aren't really that good, but it does have an interesting story and a pretty good twist that actually sets up the mood for what the Strange World is about. The animation is actually of course a good best part of the film, and the characters, while not for like the main ones, but do have some good voice acting, and some of the action scenes do be intense and engaging. Now, I know not many people would be interested in checking this out, but if you're a fan of Treasure Planet and Atlantis, then I might think that you might have a good time with this movie. But as for me, it's okay enough, but at least I'll still give this the seal of good, since it did do its job. It sure was a flop, but it wasn't really too much of a flop in my eyes. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is... Yes, of course, the next film is going to be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish on my review. But the big problem is that it has to be released in North Ireland on February 2023. So this could be a bit of a switch of a change here. I'll just wait until like the film comes on like to streaming around January or maybe early February, and that will actually complete my top 5 best and worst anime films of 2022. So I know it may be a bit late to do so, but at least I can still get the job done.
Jaeger played, never heard the meaning of the word afraid.